This video we are going to create the auto guest ID and guest ID. First thing, let's go in our page, and already we have a guest login. Okay, so for do that, what will we do? Simply just go there on press. So on press, what you need, we need to first we need to verify that there's any user data is available or not. It's mean that like we have any manual user login. If we have, so it should try to do that, try to do with guest ID. Okay, like if we have already a email but you still want to log in with guest ID, so we don't need to give him that permission. But yeah, if user don't have that, and basically if the user wants to create a guest ID, so then he can. Okay, so first thing what will we do is for setting up with or logging with basically our guest ID, we need to search that login with custom ID, that is give us to permission to create a custom ID. Then from the request we'll make it client and split that. Once you do that, you find like this a custom ID and some key and player secret codes. We don't need any of them, just need create account and custom ID. So why we are pressing that a create account, mean that by this method, basically if you untick that, so it will be give you a temporary email that is based on your local server, not in in our whole game server. So it will be kind of like you can't then match me, or our user can't buy any stuff from our store. Okay, but we don't want that. We want that our player with guest ID, he can also buy some stuff, it is to do whatever he wants. So we'll be place that on create account. So it will be after that creating that ID, it will be update that in our server. So our server have a ID but with a guest ID, without adding any email or pass. Okay, so first thing for custom ID, we can use their get device ID, because every device have their unique ID. So we can use that get device ID, and make sure some of cases this blueprint code not work in Unreal Engine. It's only work in your Android mobile or your after the next code. Okay, so let's add with custom ID. Okay, fine, we have that. Now we want then from success will be create a custom event on account done, and then we can get a custom event failed. We can also create a custom event, create an event, and that is basically on account failed. Okay, then at here if we break the client result, so we found that we can get that the ID and section ticket, but we don't get any username or event pass or something else. So the custom login system is pretty much different from our manual login system or sign-up system. Okay, now at here but we need to give our user a name, and yeah, for future we need to save some data like some result data or client data. So what will we do is basically very simple. We are going to create another custom event for a save data for this one. So let's give it that name, save game, that GID, that is guest ID. So inside of that guest ID, first time let me just create a result simple promoter variable and just copy that, and then double click and open your guest ID, the saved data, and in variable just paste that. So we have our result data, and now I can delete from here, I don't need that here. Then we need to save basically the player ID. So simply create a player ID, so a string variable, that player ID, that is basically in a string. Then we need to save the username, so user. So now you have a question that, bro, we are not putting like we are not getting any input from the user, like just give your username or whatever it is. So how our this guest id login system get a username? So what will we do, if you check that every guest id contain basically unique id that it will be specified from others player, like it will basically separate him from others player. So we can get our device id number, and with that we can join some more random lectures with guest id name. So it will be always appear or give him a custom id with a custom name, that is whatever it is device id, the user will be see that is on name. Okay, so what will we do now? Let's simply create a save game, and then here we'll be search that user data, or sorry, the GUI guide, the GID data, then cast to our GID, and then after that will be call our result, set the result, and then ID of our player, and then we need the user name. Okay, so first thing it will be create that, but first time, as you can see, we need to first manual login. Okay, oh sorry, we need to do one more thing, because we also do the auto login. So we will be search here save game, does this save game exist or not, the GID. If that exists, okay, so it will be try to first load data from this one, like whatever that's here. So simply just paste it here, and if it's true, search load save game dot, and just give it that GID. So if that GID is successful, we have something called with GID and it have data. So from that it will be load all of the data, like the user data, like the user name, then will be use the ID to get player ID, and also we need to save one more thing for future, that is login ID. So we need one more, let's give it here one more thing, that login, or let's give device ID. So because the device ID we need for future log, so device ID, and the device ID also here we need to give that get device, oh sorry, we need to set that the device ID. Now we have all of them. So if it's try to do that, if it's valid basically, so for that we'll be create another custom event, and at the request we'll create a separate. So add here, oh sorry, let's make it like this, get some space. Okay, so if it's valid, so what will we do, it will be try to log in, and we don't need to create that. Okay, we just basically need to log in. So we are not, and second time we don't need to create that, so we just need our device ID for login. And once it's success, so for this success will be custom event, and on done. So what will we do is basically we are also, we can create a custom event for this one, custom event that on data failed. Okay, for this result take that client login, and we will be fine same. So we don't do anything at here, we just that, oh sorry, we for that, and at here if it's login, so it will be automatically execute our this part of code, that if it's done, so it will be execute this, there's login done, then it will be refresh that, and then daily after it will be open that level. So we are going to create a custom event at here, custom event. Oh, I guess we don't need to create any custom event, because from that we get an output, I guess. Yep, get an output. Okay, no, let's create a custom event. Try login. We'll be try to join that, and until let's call that trial login. It's success, so then it will be try to log in with that. Okay, fine. Now if it's exist, then it will be do this stuff, and if it's not exist, it's failed. So what it will do is it will be first do this stuff. It will be get the device ID, we put that, and then once it's created successfully, then it will be do this part, that it will be create that save data. And once the save data is successfully created, it will be first time save the result, second it will be save the player ID, that is basically the Playfab ID, and it will be save the username, and it will be save the device ID. The device ID is basically the this one. Oh, where it's go, yeah, this one, and let's give it some plain code stuff. Okay, at here for the username, what will we do, will be get the username and will be append that, like it will be join, so it will be in the append, and just give like this, and let's give it that GUST ID. If I'm not wrong, the guest ID spelling is correct. UEST GU, oh sorry, GUEST guest ID. Okay, guest ID, then let's give a space like that, and once that device ID will be joined with that. Okay, so that way we can basically pick our username. Okay, and we don't need anything from here, just split that, oh sorry, just combine them. Okay, this is for our manual, this is for auto guest login. Okay, and I'm going to do one more thing. Just give it print it here, get all of them and join with this, because I want to show you something more. So compile save. Okay, so now let's try our login system. So let's give it name that GUEST guest ID login and auto login system. Let's give it a color kind of like this, and let's give this line of code that commit that auto login. We need some more space, no issue. As the color we can give it like that, and this is for manual login. Let's leave that, give it that login. Okay, now compile save. Now we have this thing, so it will be once it do this thing, it will be try the same thing, that once it successfully do everything, it will be try to log in. Okay, so compile and save, and now let's test that it's work or not. So let me log out. Oh, it will be not give us to log out because we have our user data. Oh, one more thing at here, I remember that if we are create successfully the login or whatever it is, okay, so if it's that successfully have, so what will we do, basically delete a slot, that delete save game by slot, and it will be delayed if we have any kind of like the user data, like where it's go, yeah, this one, that UD, that is user ID. Okay, user data, if we have any type of like save game, that manual rules what's user put, so we'll be delayed that. And for this one, okay, if we successfully create like where it's go, login, blah blah blah, try to log in. Oh, for if it's do this one, so it will be delayed the GID data, GID. So anytime there's no kind of like much conflict that, oh, it's have the guest id data, it's also have the login data, so which section will be work, so which one is will automatically work first, like the manual login system, it will be try to first time do that. If it's successfully login, so it will be basically you know that what it will be do, it will be basically simply delete that and it will be good. That also make sure I'm not adding with this after done login. Okay, whatever it is, I guess I'm doing something wrong here. I need to see, oh yeah, I need to put that with this thing up, not with a login. Okay, so if it's once that create, at that time it should be do, not every time on login, so it will be get a error also. Compile save. Okay, all this stuff has been created successfully. Now let's go to Unreal Engine project, whatever our project name, go to save that, save games, and then let's delete the UID data. Now simply click on play. Okay, so let's place a logout. I guess we didn't create the logouts. Okay, whatever. Now let's try to press the guest id login, invalid parameters, valid parameter. Okay, so by this thing, what it's meaning that basically, as I said, that some of cases the get device id not work in Unreal Engine or in engine. So for that, let's create a simple make string. Okay, let's give a random id, so it will be now we give us permission to create. Yep, as you can see, it's successfully login and do every step. So in next time if I try to play, it should be auto login. See that data has been created. Take data, didn't create. I guess I'm doing something wrong. Oh, it will be work. Oh, for the auto login we need to do one more thing. I'm not sure that why it's delayed, or it said that it's successfully created. The trial login system will be work on, you know, if it successfully creates, ready get that, it will be save that, but you can see that it didn't save any data. Okay, like oh sorry. So I guess I'm doing something wrong in id delete. If I can create, let me just this part. Okay, let me just hold that part of deleting. Okay, and also for this too, let's see. And also in our database there should be a new player, player, if it's successful. Yep, as you can see it's create, we have even data. So also we need to update that this id later, so we'll be do that in later video, that we'll be get the id, then we will update her name also. Okay, now let's go to player and let's play. Let's create a guest id, login done. Why is there no any save game? Main question is that create, right? Create save game object. Oh my god, guys, did you see? Forget to save game by slot add. What the heck it is? Sometimes YouTuber also forget that. Yeah, missing something, stuff like that. This is totally common. Okay, like this is the common stuff. Like I need to paste here the gid, so then it will be saved local database. Play. Now I need to do again that. I can remove that. Get the master player. as click on play, guest ID login. Yep, automatically logged. Second time it should be to that it will be not create any account. So now if second time it's open, so on event construct we need to give a data that auto login, the auto login executing this one. Okay, so at here will be do now that, but there's a lots of code we did. Okay, for this one we need to do basically this one, that does this thing is exist or not. So then it will be load that stuff, username or whatever it is have at here. If does this thing is exist, so now get that if it exists, so it will be basically yeah, it will be do a sequence. The first sequence it will be visible the auto login, and then if it's failed, so it will be do that the again. Okay, but it will be do that if it's basically don't have this one, so it will be verified that too, don't worry. And then unload on game load from this slot like this. So from this ones but as you can see for this one it's need the email and pass. Okay, for do whatever it is, but actually we don't need anything. We need to just call this custom event again, so it will be automatically login for us. So like that, when we don't need to do any logs, we just do like this. Okay, because we have data right now. If I click on press, as you can see it's automatically login and just go. Oh my god, it's totally doing super fast. So on auto login, let's add a delay note, like a 2 seconds delay or a 1 second delay. I guess that is enough. I'll save, play. Yep, auto login, and yeah, successfully login with our guest ID. So guys, that's all for in this video. We learn how you can create a guest ID system and auto guest ID login system. So thank you so much for watching this. Love you all. Bye bye. See you in next tutorial video. See you in next video. Bye bye. And for this one you can basically work for mobile device, I guess, or in board game, even in engine it will be work. So thank you so much. See you again in next video.